reality and tell us completely what we need to know, so that we are not only learning from our physical self, but from our spiritual self. We've integrated all of that, and we can then talk directly to what I like to call the heavenly music and begin to become a part of the divine plan, and not just have the divine plan working on us. And that's really an important part. So empowerment is extremely important. If you look at religion initially, it was to explain right and wrong to people. It was to explain to people what really is going on, what's really happening. And then to give basic so-called sacred truths about the reality that we live in. What is going on, which is very important. Humans like to know, are very curious about what's going on. As you said, as we expand out conscious-wide, as we begin to search, the one thing even the most religious begin to look at is, what are the definitions? And one of the basic things that all great religious teachers have done is take the entire concept of exactly how these definitions are and expand them out. So for that reason, you can look at Christianity and its basic tenets. You can look at the basic tenets in Buddhism or in any of the other major religions, even in the various writings of the Vedic literature of ancient India, and which of course extends into the present period. All of these things have basic, similar definitions. So if we just look at how to create definitions that smooth things out and allow for a good fundamental base, those who are even hesitant because of certain religious beliefs can then find ways to take their beliefs and expand them and become part of the movement that we're talking about. And so this is really important. One of the things that people who attempt to bring together various different religions do is they look for these same similar things we're talking about, which are common denominators. And practically all religions talk about that their great teacher was the supreme vessel for their salvation. What is the salvation about? It's about changing consciousness. And this then becomes the key. We begin looking at consciousness as the next way of looking at what is not only religious philosophy, but is the whole concept of scientific philosophy. And we can begin to pull together various aspects of this and create what, when I was a kid growing up on the ships, discovered is called, they call it, if you translate it into English, spiritual science. And what the spiritual science says is that all things have a divine consciousness. And this divine consciousness has a supreme purpose. And the supreme purpose is to move people into understanding to the maximum of their abilities and even beyond to why we are beings of light and what does this really mean. And this is something that people sense all the time. You'll have like a flash moment where you feel different. You feel totally at peace with things, and you no longer see any object in your reality as being dangerous. You begin to be able to, quote unquote, understand it. And this is something that is very, very important for people as they move higher and higher in consciousness. They begin to look around and they see that indeed there are these aha moments, and they're growing as they become more searching spiritually for everything. And they discover that you can put these together, and then if you go back and look at the various texts that you religiously came from, you'll begin to see how these moments then, with a slightly different understanding from what you've learned, can then be changed to where all these different things start coming together. And that's why when people become more and more into the concepts of who and what they are, and they look back at the old religious texts, they begin to find parts within it which verify what they're doing and also allow them to move, I like to call it, cross-culturally, religiously, to one another. And so what you begin seeing within one another is that you are the same people, you have the same basic beliefs, and that you are moving towards something incredible. Because every one of these religious texts talk about this great golden age, this great period that is approaching. And one of the things that really has made people look heavily at, for instance, even at the so-called Mayan dates and Mayan cosmology and the Mayan calendar, is the same concept. And the ultimate concept in Mayan is to develop what they like to call the tomb, or the diamond mind. What is the diamond mind? The diamond mind is a mind where the spiritual and the physical aspects of knowledge and wisdom come together in one person. So what they are basically saying, all of them, is there's a golden age. This great diamond mind is where we are headed towards, and that all the world and all its war and its want, etc., is capable and soon will be an illusion and something that does not need to continue to manifest itself in our minds, but can be changed, can be drastically changed. And so what we have within us is this belief that we are different. We are not really physical beings that have to war, have to have division against one another. We are more than that. We are physical and spiritual beings who are capable of reaching a point, this golden point, where we can become one with each other. And so this is something that is growing everywhere around us, where we see ourselves as a great oneness as well as a great individual oneness. In other words, the great oneness is all of us together. The great individual oneness is all that wisdom coming within every one of us and allowing us to see and expand who and what we are as far as our talents, our abilities, our joy, etc. And that's what's happening right now. Go within. Look at the intuitive energies that you feel from what I'm saying. And then go to the next step. Look around after you go through that whole period of meditating within and looking at, from your own opinion, what I'm talking about. Take that, whatever that stuff is that you've come up with, whatever your internal mind functions have come up with, and take that and look back at where you came from culturally. Look at the realities and really look at them. Don't just read them. Discern within your own mind how these things happened. What are they about? And as you begin to do that, things will begin to slip away. Other things will suddenly, in another series of aha moments, will begin to grow up in front of you and become real. And as you do this, then start looking around, because there's lots of books to read, there's lots of other AV material to read, to listen to, hear. As you do this, keep looking at what your intuitive reactions are. Go deeply into your intuitive self. Cultivate your intuitive self. Use that as your guide, kind of like your truth detector. Begin to develop that belief pattern within you that I need to be inside. I need to stay open, yet I understand where I'm coming from, but I'm expanding upon that. And take whatever materials you come up with, whatever concepts or ideas, and then keep doing the process I just talked about. Look back at your cultural realities and begin taking what you've added to your belief patterns, and stay open about this. Take your belief patterns, take what you've learned, and look back at it again. And keep doing this. It's a process. It's like being a giant onion. And you begin, one layer goes away, another layer goes away, and you're getting closer to the core. As you do this, remember, this is the key indicator. Stay open intuitively. When you feel certain things within your mind, within your body, especially within your heart, do that. Now, in ancient times, the only organ that was left, for instance, with the Egyptian mummies, was the heart. The reason is because the heart was believed to be the true indicator of what was going on in the world, and in the world of spirit, physical, etc. The Egyptians even went so far as to even take the brain and all the other organs and just take it out of the body. But the heart had to stay. The heart could not be moved. And so we need to move toward a heart logic of unwinding this onion that we're talking about. As we begin to do this, as we begin to see the process in front of us, step by step, we begin to expand more and more. We begin to see How did our cultural aspects, whether they be a religious aspect or traditions, etc., what are they about? And keep expanding upon that. As you do this, you'll begin seeing other people and interacting with other people that are doing the same.